Now, in a totally different subject, I've done a lot of eugenics research here with Alex. I've read literally hundreds of publications, looked at everything, and this is the first time I've ever seen in detail a single-page smoking gun document that just covers so much of it. Everything you've heard about eco-science, which was published in 1977 from the White House, science advisor John P. Holdren, is outlined here in this 1969 document. It's a private secret memo to Bernard Berelson, who was president at the time of the Population Council, which was founded by John Rockefeller III in 1950s, to the president, or from rather, the president of Planned Parenthood World Population, Frederick S. Jaffe. Jaffe's the one who wrote this memo, and it outlines proposed measures to reduce U.S. fertility by universality or selectivity of impact. That means ways they're going to constrain the population. Now, of course, they've been doing this in third world countries for decades, but this key document came out only a couple of years before they started arguing in 1971 for Roe versus Wade, effectively legalizing abortion in this country, which would later become a tool to target particularly the black population, but also all kinds of Americans, now more than 50 million aborted babies in this country. Anyway, what's important in this document is how they specifically target the family and even talk about putting fertility control agents in the water supply. Why do we have all this BPA, all these pharmaceuticals, all these weird substances, and the fluoride as well in the water? Why do we have all these bad chemicals in our food, all the genetically modified problems they know about, but won't stop and keep pushing through with automatic regulation in the FDA? It's because they want to lower the population. They've been doing it across the country, across the world. Now they want to do it in this country. They've been doing it actively since '69. It talks about restructuring the family, getting people to postpone or avoid marriage, altering the image of the ideal size of family. It talks about compulsory education of children, encouragement of increased homosexuality. Right here on paper. I'm not making this up, people. Educate for family limitation, fertility control agents in water supply. It's right here on this memo. Came out in this Frederick Jaffe's papers while he was at Planned Parenthood years later. And it also encourages women to work. So they can't be at home taking care of their families and having more babies. Instead, they must go to work. But they're not going to treat those women well, according to this document. They're going to do everything they can to take away the tax incentives for married couples, for people with more than 2 children. It says right here, under a subject I don't even understand, chronic depression, it says require women to work and provide few child care facilities, limit and eliminate public finance, medical care, scholarships, housings, loans, subsidies, everything for families with too many children. And it even talks about having permits to be allowed to have children, limiting childbirth to only a certain sector of adults, and compulsory abortion for out-of-wedlock pregnancies. Whether or not you think some of these ideas individually might be advisable because you think there's too many people, this is draconian authoritarianism, and they tried to bring it to America. It was written about in Eco-Science, but as I'm going to show you in these clips, it was practiced in countries including China. China is the world model for the stuff that's on this document for the United States. Before they had the one-child policy, they had their family planning programs, which is part of the worldwide Planned Parenthood group, advising people, encouraging them, using propaganda, loudspeakers, everything to get people to have first only 2 children, first to delay their marriage, but then, as you see, later to only be allowed to have 1 child at the penalty of the police state's gun. Let's play some of those clips right now from the Barefoot Doctors of China in 1975, 4 years before the one-child policy.
One of the most important aspects of China's family planning campaign is providing jobs for women. Women comprise 80% of the employees at this lock factory. The factory's barefoot doctors keep track of the women's menstrual cycles and deliver birth control pills at the proper time.
Okay, stop it right there. So I just want to point out they have admitted they're encouraging women to work as a major plank of their family planning program and even regulating their menstrual cycles. We think this is okay. No, it's a scientific takeover of humanity. They are restricting the natural birth cycle of humans. Whether or not you think there's too many people or whatever, I don't think we want a authoritarian scientific dictatorship in charge. Let's go on with the clips, please.
The government encourages late marriages and small families.
There it is from this document. Postpone or avoid marriage. Alter the image of the ideal family size. Keep going, please.
Parents should have only 2 children, with a recommended spacing of 4 years.
And these are short clips. We have longer ones posted on InfoWars, including in the article I wrote over the weekend, China, slave state where the family is outlawed and the rich breed in secret. That's right, in the one-child state, the rich are having test tube babies 8 at a time in this particular case. But the bigger point here is that you've got this Planned Parenthood mechanism and the Rockefeller Foundation-funded Population Council producing these propaganda videos and encouraging these publications where they're trying to brainwash the population into having fewer children and for the state to dictate how many children you could have. That's the key. The state is who decides what kind of family you should have. And that's why this is so alarming, especially when it comes to putting fertility control agents in the water supply and hormonally changing people, including encouraging homosexuality. I mean, it's just nightmarish what this government and their related NGOs and the United Nations foundations like UNESCO think they can do to us. I know Alex has covered this in depth. I don't want to get too much into it, but this is a shocking document, and you will find it at Infowars.com. We covered it in depth there. Now, when we come back from break, we have that exclusive interview with Colonel Craig Roberts. It's going to be dynamite, but first we want to play a short clip from him in the film A Noble Lie on the Oklahoma City bombing of 1995. This is a powerful film. I've seen it for myself. I was blown away. I cannot recommend it enough. We have it here at InfoWars, but we've been selling out because people are so interested in this topic right now. So get it and share it with other people, then buy more copies to support the filmmakers. Again, that's at Infowars.com. Let's go to that clip of Colonel Craig Roberts right now.
Day 1, hour 2 of the bombing, the most significant event that happened is when they said they found other bombs in the building. The second most significant event was when they moved everybody back and held them back. There were still people alive trapped in the building, but they came in with 2 trucks and backed them up to the Murrah building, and a bunch of these guys dressed in blue jackets with no letters on the back started taking boxes of files out and putting them on this truck. And it was during this time that early in the investigation that I started receiving some various phone calls. One of them was a phone call from Little Rock, Arkansas. The guy said that he was a federal agent. He was not an FBI agent. He was not ATF. But what he did say was during their investigation of the Clintons, on all the drug running that went through Mena, Arkansas, and Lassiter's Ranch and all of that stuff that was going on at the time during Iran-Contra, that those records, when Clinton went to Washington, were transferred from there to the Murrah building. Of course, the other Achilles heel is the videotapes of the building itself from the different surveillance cameras that no one's seen. If McVeigh was Lee Harvey McVeigh all by himself, the lone nut with the truck, then why don't they show us the videotapes of the truck? Show us the videotapes of him getting out. Or was there more than him in the truck?
And that's just a short clip, folks. I mean, this whole Oklahoma City thing is not only an inside job, it is a conspiracy. It's cold-blooded murder. It's just unbelievable. You got to see the section they have on Terrence Yakey. But that is all coming up with Colonel Craig Roberts. I want to remind you, at PrisonPlanet.tv, there's another 15-day free trial. You can try it out, see all the great things you get, and then you can choose to get a membership and support us and this broadcast, help us get the word out, all at a discount. Our Christmas specials are still running, I think, to the end of the year. At any rate, they're active today, so help us out today. Get a membership. We'll be back in just a moment after this short break.
We were brought up loving our country and our Constitution. That in the United States of America, we were free. And that's an attitude that we've tried to instill in our children. I met my wife while in the Air Force. I was a combat pilot in Vietnam. I served in Desert Storm as a commander. When I graduated from the academy, I took the oath of office. And as a commander, I administered that oath to many people. Now I wonder about the understanding people have of our Constitution and I think about our candidates for President of the United States, it's interesting to see the support Ron Paul gets from the military. And if we think back to the code of conduct and people raising their right hand that they were going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States, why would those same people support in great numbers Ron Paul? I think it's because they know that he supports the Constitution of the United States. It doesn't mean you have to go to war to do it. It means you have to understand what the Constitution is and be a supporter inside of your own country, whether you're in the military or not, of that Constitution, and make the United States strong. And Ron Paul does that. That's his feeling. That's his thrust. And that's why if you look at the percentages that support him in the military, it's huge. Why is that? Because they've raised their right hands and they're putting their lives on the line for us here in the United States. And they know that Ron Paul does the same.